Hey you guys, greetings and salutations. This is James here at Unique Perspectives. I've actually made it all the way back to Wilderness Park, where I actually started filming my very first videos when I first started my YouTube channel in the beginning of 2022. So it's really nice to be back. It's really nice to see all the ducks, approaching me and not afraid to get close to a guy and his camera and his equipment and all of that. But yeah, I actually wanted to talk about just Disney for a moment, because I think there are a lot of things that I could address that a lot of my friends are interested in knowing my opinion about things. Obviously, The Little Mermaid has been interesting discussion amongst the internet, with Halle Bailey cast as the new Disney princess as Ariel, and obviously Halle Bailey is black, the original Ariel. That I still enjoy the old Disney films as well, the classics, and I have the Blu-ray, and I have Disney Plus, and I've watched The Little Mermaid, and it's a really nice story, nice, cool songs, something I enjoyed when I was little, so it's a very interesting take on what's happened with Halle Bailey as well. And I just wanted to talk about that. I wanted to talk about Disney in general, just my personal thoughts as a conservative Christian, and just share my thoughts, because I'm having a lot of discussions ongoingly with people from both sides, and I just want to share some ideas. Now, I do want to encourage you guys to like and subscribe, and if you have any thoughts about anything that I share in this video, if you agree or disagree, I would absolutely love to have a dialogue with you guys. Please comment. Even if you see this a year from now, I would love to still know your thoughts about this, a lot of these topics. But let me just get right into the topic at hand, and let's just talk about Disney for a moment. So obviously we know that Walt Disney and his view of Disney and his philosophy, things have obviously been changing, as our world has become more modern. We have very different takes on things, we have very different, I'm gonna say our society has progressed to very different views on different things. There are some people that are not really big fans of, ideas that were more traditional, men and women getting married, and that defines marriage, and this is what's going on. It's God ordained to have that nuclear family, one man, one wife, and just have your children in between, and that is our nuclear family. Obviously, we have Disney that has sharing with some of their execs, online, openly sharing that that's not their solid vision of the direction of Disney, so that's something that has been very public, that everyone's aware of. The idea from some of these execs, some of these directors, is to intentionally make sure that there's always homosexual representation, people of other cultures represented in not only the Star Wars projects that are under Disney, but even Marvel projects that are under Disney, as well as all the other classic Disney stories being retold. So this is one of the reasons why we have Halle Bailey cast as our new Ariel. And it's very interesting, because I believe it's a few days now, but within 2 days it seems like there was already a rift or an attack on Halle Bailey, because she is the new Ariel. And I believe on YouTube, just within 2 days, there was more than 1 million dislikes for the trailer, which is really rough, I would imagine, on Halle Bailey. And I've never interacted with her or anything like that. I've never really kept up with her career. I know that she is on the spin-off show Grownish, which originally I think the main show was a Blackish, and I think she's one of the characters there. So I've never watched the show, but she's always kind of kept herself respectable, to my understanding. So lovely young lady, and some friends that I think have seen her in person at the D23 event that I think it ended recently. And every year Disney is presenting just their new projects to the world, and letting us see what's going on. But I guess let me just get right into some of the things I wanted to share. First off, let's just be very clear. Disney is not a conservative Christian organization. It never was. It may have had a lot of very traditional ways when Walt Disney was alive, and maybe those earlier years, but I think it's really important for us to come to terms with the fact that this is not the same company. There's a lot of different ideas that are being introduced that Walt Disney may not have approved of, obviously, and there are other things that maybe he would approve of, and it's just I don't know, maybe just as our times have progressed, there are certain things that have become okay to represent. Now, I'm a conservative Christian, so obviously I cannot condone homosexuality to any respect. I also don't necessarily agree with the idea of introducing or casting someone as a character just because of their skin tone. I believe that it's really important that we find people that are qualified to actually play a specific role, whether it be Ariel, whether it be Snow White, whether it be whoever. I think it's important that we actually focus on someone that actually can act or sing and conduct themselves in a professional manner in these roles, rather than hiring someone for their skin tone. And I think it's really sad when we live in a world that Hollywood is big on that, Netflix is big on that, and Disney, to some aspects I can see, is exploring that as well. It's really what some people would call identity politics, and this is more something on the left, obviously, that I can't entirely jump on. And so I'm not a fan of that. I'm not a fan of things like affirmative action, where it's like, hey, you have to make sure you have your quota of a certain amount of black people in this environment. To me, I would prefer a person that's actually qualified qualified for the job to work at that convenience store, to work at that storage building, to be a exec, to be that CEO, to be that person that's working at Ross or working in a business or working behind the counter, and whatever it is. I think it's more important for us to have someone that's actually qualified to do the job rather than hiring people based on their skin tone. Hey, you have this background, this cultural background, let me just hire you, you know. And I think it's just better to find people that actually can do the job. So I don't know how Halle Bailey is going to act in this film, so I'm gonna give her a chance personally. I think we all should give her a chance, but at the same time, I would love to know what was Disney's intention when they actually considered her. You know, was it because, hey, we've seen her with her projects and what she's been on in regards to her shows, like I said, the spinoff of Blackish, the show Grownish. Is it that they were monitoring her and watching, hey, this lady conducts herself in a very professional way, she's not wrapped up in any crazy dramas, you know, and you know, the paparazzi's not going after her, there's no craziness happening, no. So maybe she actually displayed the type of character that Disney actually wanted to see in a potential Disney princess, because obviously this is something that she's going to be known for the rest of her life, you know, as she was Ariel in the live action Disney film. So it's really important to have somebody that's qualified to act, you know, be involved in something like this. I think we should give her a chance, but we have to remember Disney is not Christian conservative or a conservative Christian organization. And I think there are a lot of us that keep getting disappointed with some of their decisions and some of their moves to include somebody that's trans in a show, or include somebody that's homosexual, or include somebody that's black, and, you know, what we would call the race swap. And I think a lot of us are holding this standard of maybe a biblical or maybe a more conservative standard for how things should be judged. And I think we have to keep in mind that Disney is not a conservative Christian organization. They don't hold to those principles, you know, and I think it's really kind of wrong for us to judge them in that way when that's not what they represent, you know. And I think a lot of people are constantly getting really just uncomfortable with some of the decisions, you know. Some people are, you know, saying, hey, I don't want to have Disney Plus anymore. I'm going to protest against what Disney is doing. And to me, it's like, hey, if you don't like their projects, if you don't like the decisions that they're making, I don't think you should support them or watch their things. If you don't like it, then don't watch it. But for me, I like having Disney Plus. I like watching The Mandalorian. I like to watch these Marvel related shows. I'm going to keep up with these stories. Now, if by chance Disney decided to make a lot of decisions that really started to push back against what it is that I believe, then yes, I would have to also remove my Disney Plus and I would stop supporting them as well. But in my opinion, they're just doing just like every other company. They are like every other company. They're like Netflix, they're like Hulu. They're doing the exact same thing. They're just progressing with society, and they are not Christian conservative organizations. They do not hold to the principles that we Christian conservatives live for. And I think there's a lot of us that keep getting baffled with why they're going in a certain direction, when we have to understand, we have to grasp that they do not represent, you know, what the Bible teaches. They do not represent what our founding fathers taught. You know, they don't support those things, you know, not necessarily or not entirely. And so I think we need to just make amends with that and just move on. If you don't want to support them, then leave them alone. But I think it's too much to start really putting them down and attacking them. Before I even actually came here to Wilderness Park so I can actually film this, I had a friend of mine on my Instagram actually told me, well, she really disagreed with Disney going in this direction with casting Halle Bailey as the Little Mermaid. And she was saying that, you know, no Christians should support Disney at all because they don't support the things that we support. And I had to tell my friend, well, you and I are on Instagram right now having this polite exchange, and you and I both know that the founders and the people behind Instagram, Meta, they don't represent conservative Christian ideas either. However, you and I are making an exception to be on this platform and have this exchange right now. And so I wanted to really show my friend that, you know, it's almost hypocritical to say, hey, look what they're doing, but, you know, here we are participating in a platform that obviously is not conservative Christian and can be very combative towards people that hold conservative Christian values, you know? I mean, even just saying Trump or, you know, going into, you know, maybe disagreements with COVID and things like that can get you banned potentially, you know? So it's really interesting just to keep that in mind as we don't want to be the hypocrite. We want to be very mindful with what it is that we're saying. Again, if we don't support the ideas of Disney or whatever else, I think that's perfectly fine. Then leave them alone. Do not subscribe to Disney Plus. Do not go to Disneyland. Just leave them alone. But it's just something different to really take a lot of time to actually, you know, put them down. One of the other things I wanted to address is that I actually have friends that work for Disney, okay? So, I mean, I know some of you might say, oh, okay, well then you're biased then, you know. And I don't know, maybe to some extent I am. But I do know that there are some people within the Disney staff, I'm gonna say, you know, globally, that are conservative Christians. They do not support the idea of the trans movement. They do not support the idea of the homosexuality infiltrating a lot of these projects. And a lot of them are not into identity politics. They don't care for people to get hired based on skin tone in their culture, but they want to see people that actually are qualified to take on these roles as a singer or take on these roles as an actor or actress. They want to take, they support the idea of a person actually being qualified rather than being considered because of their culture, their skin tone, which I don't think that's right. But I do want to just remind you guys that there are people that they do love the Lord, they do read their Bibles, they are Christians, they're conservatives, they have biblical values, Christian values, they have a Christian worldview. However, they are employed by Disney, and it's not like they're applauding everything that every decision Disney is making. But some of them, they're trying to make ends meet. I have some friends that they're working for Disney, and this is one of the best jobs they've ever had, and they're not very eager to leave. Like this, they're able to feed their families, they're able to serve others with the money that they're making, and they may not agree with every decision that Disney's making, but this is something that they understand, that there's a bigger picture. They can actually still do good with the money that they make from working for Disney. And it's not like they're applauding every project that comes out that may disagree with the Bible. There's a lot of different projects that I think they're excellent storytelling that, Disney still is progressing. I think, for example, The Mandalorian, and a lot of the Marvel series and a lot of Marvel shows and just the movies, I think they're really great storytelling. Now, some of them are not doing so well, like the last 2 Thor movies, and even Ms. Marvel, I know, had one of the poorest ratings, and we're not even done with watching She-Hulk right now. It's not done yet. We haven't seen Daredevil yet, so I'm really looking forward to Daredevil. But there are a lot of projects that are not working out as well because the new approach is not really working. This more leftist, progressive approach really interferes with the storytelling, and so I'm going to say, in my opinion, hurts the story, hurts the quality of a show or a movie or a project in general. So it's really just interesting to keep that in mind. But I really want to emphasize this: Disney is not a conservative Christian organization. We have to stop using that biblical sense to judge them when they're not Christian. They're not, there are Christians within the company, but the company overall, that's not what they represent. And I think I really want to emphasize this because there are a lot of people that are going hard on Disney, and like I said, the person that I was chatting with on my Instagram, the person even accused them of being some type of pedophile ring, and they support even Satan and Lucifer. My friend was saying, hey, Disney owns Hulu, and Hulu recently released a show called Little Demon, and it's about this little girl who's the Antichrist, and her father is Satan, and what do you think of that? And I had to remind her, this is not a Christian organization. We have to stop judging them based on that, because it's like, I don't know, it's one thing if there was an organization that said, hey, we are a conservative Christian organization and these are the principles we live by, and then all of a sudden they're supporting abortion, we would say, hey, wait a minute, we have a standard that we're supposed to judge everything based on, and you're violating that. But Disney does not represent that, and so we have to just keep that in mind. So I'm not saying Disney is evil, I'm not saying Disney is good. I'm saying Disney is just Disney, and you take whatever you like, and if you don't want anything of it, leave it alone, leave it alone. But I think going on and on about slandering it, I think it's a lot, and it's okay to have an opinion. We live in the West, obviously. We're all very opinionated. I'm opinionated. So it's okay to have, opinions about stuff. Yeah, but I was gonna say that I do have a friend that works for Disney, and one of them, I have more than one friend that works for Disney, and one of them takes me to Disneyland out here in California very frequently. I'm gonna say within a year, I could end up going about 5, 6, 7 times. And I enjoy myself, I enjoy the rides, I enjoy taking pictures. It's always nice. I actually have a video on my YouTube of me just one of the trips I had, and I was wearing my Trump shirt. But yeah, I enjoy going to Disneyland. I enjoy meeting other conservative Christians that are attending there as well. A lot of people like to make comments on my political shirts because I always wear like a Trump shirt or something that grabs people's attention. And I'm always meeting other conservative Christians that will come up and talk to me, and they love that they see a black man wearing Donald Trump, and so I think it's just interesting to keep that in mind, that just because Disney does not represent conservative Christian values, it doesn't mean that there aren't conservative Christians amongst Disney, at Disneyland, or even just within the staff, so I think we have to be very careful not to, like, what I'm going to say, throw out the baby with the bathwater. One of the last things I was going to say is that I don't know if a lot of you guys know this already, but apparently an actress, Rachel Zegler, who is Colombian, is actually going to play Snow White in the next Disney princess film. She's going to be the new Disney princess, Snow White, and she is Latina, obviously. And to me, I think that's very interesting. It's very interesting. Now, there are some people that would probably say, you know what, when it comes to Halle Bailey as Ariel, when it comes to Rachel Zegler as Snow White, why not just preserve these stories as they are with, you know, these white Caucasian women and just tell different stories? Honestly, I actually lean towards that as well. I think that Disney it would be nice just to actually have more stories that were introduced into the world. And yeah, if you want to, you know, implement more black people in your stories, then that's definitely a good approach. Just actually tell stories with people of other cultures and let it be Latina, let it be black, and let it just, but at the same time, I'm not entirely against introducing people of other cultures that, you know, are obviously another culture. And, you know, because I feel like the representation thing, to some extent, I don't think that it should go too far, but I think that it's nice that there'll be little Colombian girls that'll say, wow, this is Snow White, and I'm Latina, you know, I'm being represented, you know, so I think that's kind of cool. But I also think that, yeah, Disney, if they really want to be more inclusive, yeah, why not just tell more stories and just add those stories and let it be surrounding a black community, or let it be surrounding a Colombian community or Latino community or a Native American community. So I think there are different arguments I've been hearing, but yeah, I just wanted to share this, guys. I hope this was helpful. If you have any thoughts or anything like that, please hit me up. If you have any comments, agreements, disagreements, you're more than welcome to hit my comments. I'm open to any dialogue. And if you guys want to contact me, my Facebook or Instagram, just ask for my information or check out my account. You'll see all that stuff. God bless you guys. Please like and subscribe, and take care. Bye.